Is everybody confused? I know I am. Welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Yet more fun and exciting issues tonight with technology. I am live. It is the 18th of June, 2025. You watch.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
And welcome back to the Edge of Liberty on the SHR Media Network. Now that we got the intro out of the way and I'm not playing Big Earl's advertisement, I'm trying to tell everybody where the hell I am because it all went wrong. And I don't know why it all went wrong, but it did. I can't tell you for the life of me what happened. I can't tell you for the life of me if it'll do it again. I can't tell you for the life of me if my computer is going to explode or not this evening because once again technology is kicking my ass. But we have too much to talk about to get bogged down over technological issues. Welcome everybody joining in the chat. All of you were late, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. BZ's in there, Canada Heavy Haul, the 500th subscriber, Mission Ready Men, and the Phantom. Thank you so much. So let's start right off with Operation Rising Lion. There's been so much in the last 24 hours that has been said. There's been so much in the last 24 hours that people are waiting to be said. And there's a lot in the last 24 hours that have not been said. First of all, the most important thing is the guy with this haircut is telling us to cut the shit. I think that right there, first and foremost, hello, have you ever seen a flat top that flat before? It's amazing to me. I know we have a lot of serious shit to talk about tonight, but when I came across this picture, I said, my God, they have to be using a level on that sumbitch to get that just right. And it's the only flat surface on them. It's incredible. So yeah, Lil Kim, an old friend of SHR Media, Little Kim's telling us we need to tone down the rhetoric. We need to stop what's going on in the Middle East. Well, Little Kim, along with your friend Russia, because that was another country heard from, Vladimir Putin telling us that we should tone things down and telling Israel to get out, which is the most ironic fucking statement in the world. Seriously, not since Kid and Play. I will tell you, Vladimir Putin advising that we don't invade another country is the equivalent of me giving health advice. You don't want to hear it from somebody who's really bad at it. Okay. It's fucking ridiculous. It's nuts to me. And that's not even the surprising shit. So let's roll everything through right now. It is since the 13th of June, my birthday. 24 Israelis were killed, over 804 injured. Israel estimates anywhere from 500 to 1,000 killed for the Iranians and 1,300 injured. Targets that have been hit in Iran is Natanz, Tabriz, Tehran nuclear and centrifuge facility, and allegedly tonight they're going after the Iraq, ARAK nuclear facility. But a half an hour before we went on air, they sent out a warning to everybody in that area to get the hell out. Cosmic Bard has joined us. So lovely. Thank you. So it's still rolling on. The question on everybody's mind is, what is Trump going to do? And he's been Wall Street Journal, CBS, and a couple others have said that sources inside the White House says, look, Trump has a plan. He's already signed off on a war plan. He is now giving the Iranian government a chance to actually come to the table and really negotiate, or the plan will be put into action. Now, that is not the official White House statement as of right now. The official White House statement is, I may do it, I may not do it. Nobody knows what I'm going to do on possible U.S. strikes. So that's the official statement from the White House right now. A very, very Trumpian statement. The other thing, and I'll tell you, I I swear he just lives to mess with media. Earlier today, it's been quiet. So if you follow situations like this, like I do, like anyone who's in media does, you start to get the rhythm. And I know that may sound weird, but you start to get the rhythm of the event, right? The rhythm of the crisis, the rhythm of the war. You know, when it gets dark, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Videos will be of this, video of that. You just get used to it. And starting on the 13th through yesterday, it became a very predictable news cycle as to what was going to be reported when, what was going to be shown, when these strikes were going to come in, yada, yada, yada. And then yesterday, it went flat. Not a lot out of Israel, not a lot out of America. And yeah, people have pushed Trump on it. And since he left the G7 and got the Security Council together, he hasn't spoken a lot about it. He did his flagpole, which actually the flagpoles looked great. He did the flagpole ceremony today and he answered a couple questions, but he didn't necessarily go too far into it. He certainly didn't tip his hand. Trump doesn't tip his hand unless he wants his hand tipped, right? So people were asking him, and he's giving the standard answer. Look, we want Iran to come to the table. We want Iran to surrender completely in this incident, come to the table, and give up essentially their entire nuke program. That's what they're going for, is to give up the entire nuke program, or there will be consequences. Unconditional surrender is what I believe President Trump put on X. So since then, watching all the media, I mean, we have so much technology, it's mind blowing. Everybody starts watching websites like Flight Radar 24, and you can see a ton of US military aircraft coming from the mainland America, going towards the Middle East, staging grounds, the typical staging grounds, Jordan, England, Italy, etc. Everything's moving into that region. And then, as I said to somebody who's pointed out to me before, like, wow, I can't believe you can put this all on. I said, that's only the stuff they want you to see. There's plenty of fucking aircraft that have landed in that region and been moved into that region that you don't are not able to see, I should say. So everybody's watching that, and there's just this pause, this long, dramatic pause. And just as everyone was saying, God, he's not saying anything today, he's really not saying anything today, he all of a sudden turns around and calls everybody into the Oval Office. I want to say this was about 3 p.m. Pacific time, noon our time, somewhere around then. So all the pool reporters were like, oh shit, he's going to make the announcement. And they go rushing in. And he's sitting there with like a youth soccer team that he was like meeting and greeting. And he introduced the soccer team. He talks a little bit. And I said to myself, Trump set that up. All these media hounds are just itching to hear what's going to happen and what America is going to do. It's just like the whole world is, honestly. But it's Trump being Trump. And he calls them in to introduce them to a junior soccer team. Now, I don't know about you, but I still think when Trump does that to the press, it's fucking hysterical. Even the good press, whatever, because they're just like itching, like we are. They're just chomping at the bit. And he's like, "Hey, everybody, come in the office. We got something we got to talk about." And they're all grabbing their pen and paper. Fuck! He's gonna talk. He's gonna tell us. And he gets in. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is the JV soccer team from Minnewaska, Minnesota, and they won their semifinals champion 2 years ago." Yada yada yada. And everyone's like, "A fucking soccer team? Are you shitting me, dude?" And I just started laughing. I actually texted a friend of mine and said, that is the most Trump statement in the world. Just to drag everybody in, get them all built up just to laugh at them. Jersey Joe brought up a good point. The Iranian Baghdad Bob. We have to come up with a better name for him. Tyran Tim. He put out a statement, and this tells you, I've said before, in a lot of these Middle Eastern countries that are run by brutal dictators, anything that their press secretary is saying, you can guarantee you the exact opposite is true. So this is what we're going to call him Tehran Tim. This is what Tehran Tim was saying. The fifth wave of the operation. True Promise 3 began with the launch of a super heavy, long-range, two-stage Sigil missile. The residents of the occupied lands of Quds, Jerusalem, should, the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, backed by the heroic people of Iran, have dismantled the Zionist army's defense system in several previous, no skies over the occupied and jumped around. Territories have opened there, yada, yada, yada. Translation, we're kicking their ass. Reality, they're not kicking anybody's ass. Let's roll down how it started and how it's going for the Iranian military right now. First of all, Israel is now announcing where they're going to bomb inside Tehran and Iran. They're announcing it. They're giving citizens time to get out. Hey, in an hour, just like they did with the Palestinians. Hey, in an hour, we're going to bomb that place. I wouldn't be in that place if I were you. And then they go bomb it. That tells you that they have absolute air superiority over Iran. And it also tells you that Iran's air defense is fucking shot. You don't start calling it out like that. Like, yeah, normally everybody knows, like, hey, it's coming. Hey, it's coming. Hey, it's coming. But when you're like calling your shot like Babe Ruth, you're like, hey, I'm going to go over there. Actually, it's more like Larry Bird. If you've ever heard stories about Larry Bird when he was playing basketball, he would actually tell the defensive players, so I'm going to dribble twice. I'm going to run over there and I'm going to shoot a three-pointer over your head. And then he'd fucking do it. And it used to drive them absolutely insane. And this is now what Israel is doing. Oh, and he would trash talk them the entire time. But this is now what Israel's doing. Hey, guess what? We're going to bomb here. And just as a reminder, you can't fucking stop us. I was waiting to see if Cleo Jones makes the catch or not. What timeline am I on? Cosmic Bard. By the way, if you want to join the chat, I know it was a little hokey tonight getting in the room, but if you want to join the chat, go to YouTube, SHR Media. You're going to see two posts for tonight's show. You want to do the one that says live next week. You can get in the live chat, join the conversation with Cheetah, Cosmic Bard. Orty's in there. Orty, thank you for being there. BZ, Jersey Joe, Mission Ready Men. I know the Phantom's in there. And I think I saw, Canada Heavy Haul. How could I forget the 500th subscriber? Canada Heavy Haul. So that's so far the current state of the Iranian air defense. What is the current state of the Israeli air defense? On the first night of the war, as we'll call it, the Iranians shot 200 missiles. The second night they shot 100. Let me know if you see a trend. On the third night, they're down to 70. Last night, it was down to 28. They haven't gotten the numbers for tonight, but I think it's less than that. 97% have been intercepted. 100% of the drones. This is just the long-range missile, which, by all accounts, everyone's saying they do have a hypersonic missile. However, it's still being intercepted at a 97% rate. I believe it's called the Fatal 1. So, let's size this up. Israel can take off and land at will, can bomb at will, can fly around Iran without any problem. Iran can't get off the ground. They had 3 passenger jets from the Iranian government flee to Oman today. Curious to see who was on that. They are now, by the way, asking Trump if they can come to the White House to discuss the war with him and try to find a peaceful end. And all of their missiles, with the exception of 3%, are being intercepted. It's not going well. I've seen the big rocket they want. Nobody saw land. Yeah. So, and that's the other thing that they've been putting out. I had it somewhere. I don't know if I have it in my clips. they put out this thing of like, tonight you're going to see something nobody's ever seen before, and then nothing happens. The Iranian military has become meme central online, which tells you how fucking bad it's going for them. If you're trying to fight a war and people are making memes of you, including people in Israel that aren't really that afraid. I mean, obviously they're scared because there is a potential, but for the love of God, they're not that scared. Yeah, Mission Ready Men. I did hear that too, that there are reports that Israel is running low on missile defense munitions. The first report I saw that out of was something called like Iranian News Plus, and it was a pro Iranian website. I have a feeling that we are supplying them with plenty because they have the THAAD system over there on top of David Sling and on top of the Iron Dome. They have the THAAD, they have the Patriot, and I think one other American system that's over there as well too. I doubt very much that Israel is running low on missile defense munitions. I could be wrong, but you have to remember too, they had months really to stockpile because they haven't really been receiving too much incoming fire over the last couple months because Hamas has been leveled and Hezbollah was blown up in a beeper attack. So, I mean, it's out there. I understand it's out there. I don't give much clout to it. Um, I just, I don't know. I think the Israelis are too well prepared to get caught with their pants down like that. That being said, if it is true, that will push the Americans to make a decision and a quick action after said decision. Because here's why: they don't want to expose the fact that the munitions can run low. They don't want that to be seen. They don't. I see BZ is sipping on potato water this evening. He said, but they're running low on missile defense musicians, and that's entirely possible. They might be running low on missile defense musicians, but munitions, on the other hand, I don't fucking think they have. But if they are, like I said, that's going to force Trump's hand even more because now the potential for Israeli citizens to be killed goes through the roof. However, the amount of I don't know how many more missile launch systems, platforms that Iran has that's operational. That's the question. Because if they don't have anything that's really operational, then they can run low on munitions, right? If nobody has anything to throw at you, you don't need a catcher's mitt, so to speak, because nothing's coming your way. The 3 planes that fled to Oman, I saw it this morning watching FlightAware. They came out of central Iran. Now that could have just been where they turned their transponders on. And they landed in Oman. And I said to myself, that's people either fleeing, families that the leader's family said, hey, or the leader said, hey, you get your families out for right now until we know what's going on. Send them to Oman. They'll keep them safe, yada, yada, yada. I can't open that biggie, but I'll read the headline. It's Times of Israel. Israel running low on Arrow interceptors. U.S. Burning through its system too. Well, and maybe it's true, but technology is out to get me tonight. I'm telling you. The only thing that I keep in mind is Israel tactically is usually incredibly sound, right? They're usually way ahead of the game and way ahead of planning. They wouldn't let something like that leak out unless they were okay with it leaking out or it was being intentionally leaked out, right? If say they're trying to smoke Iran into just like it, I met a guy, and this is going to be a long story to get to my point. I apologize, but I don't know what's going on with the Google Home behind me. It's talking to me. I met a guy a long time ago who was a backseater in an F4 Phantom during the first Gulf War. He was actually retired, and they called him and asked him to come back in, get into the F4 as a backseater. He had a female Israeli pilot as his front seater. He said she was unbelievable. And they went through and they killed all the radar systems. And they said part of that, after they killed the radar systems, because that was their primary job, they said they were waiting for Scud missiles to launch so they could find the launch point and go in and kill it. So are they saying, hey, we're running low so they can start getting the launch points that are left? That's entirely possible. Entirely possible. I just don't know. I wish I had answers. I don't have answers. Allegedly on Friday, the Iranian Foreign Ministry is going to be engaging in diplomatic talks to try to end the war. This is what tells me, I mean, obviously the optics and the evidence says Iran's getting it pushed in, like Orty said earlier, right? They said that, it's obvious. We can all see it. But for them to all of a sudden start asking for diplomatic negotiations and asking to go to, excuse me, asking to meet with the Israelis and Trump to stop the attack tells me they're getting up against the line. You don't start crying uncle if you don't need to cry uncle, especially when you're Iran and you are absolute religious zealots and you believe dying as a martyr is a positive thing, right? You don't ask, you're scared if you're asking for that. You're up against the wall and it's not pretty. Let's go through the chat a little bit. Oh, yeah. Jersey Joe said there are reports they want a negotiating team. That is true. Oh, that was the other thing. And I think, who was it that said it? Cosmic Bard. There's a pro-Israeli hacking community that hacked Iran's own cryptocurrency. They apparently have some sort of internal cryptocurrency. And they took and liquidated $900 million out of that. And I don't know what they did with it. I guess they donated to a whole bunch of places or whatever. So on top of getting blown up, hey, Facebook user, what's up? Can't see your name, but thank you for watching. On top of getting blown up, they're now getting pickpocketed as well by nerds. That tells you how good things are going in Iran. Nerds are pickpocketing them while the Israelis are kicking their ass. Jersey Joe put in the chat room, Trump's doomsday plane designed to, yeah, it's the E4B, I think it is. It is the doomsday plane. Oh, there it is. It's been up and down forever though. It goes up all the time and it lands in all different places. It flies out of Barksdale. I've seen it all over the place. That doesn't really concern me. The Constant Phoenix plane, I forget the designator. That's the nuclear sniffer. That was up and around. But it wasn't overseas, so it wasn't really doing anything. But everyone was freaking out. They're like, "Oh, Constant Phoenix is in the air. This is bad." And I said at the time, if they're putting that in the air, oh, it's Claudia over on Facebook. Well, hey, Claudia, and I only know that because the other user said, "Good evening, Claudia." Yeah, if Constant Phoenix goes over there, I would think that it would be because Iran's trying to see if there's any nuclear radiation being emitted, and Israel is trying to see if there's any nuclear radiation being emitted into the atmosphere to know if they've struck what they're trying to strike or not. But I don't think it's in the air. There's nothing. I don't think, well, I know for a fact, Iran does not have a long range missile that could attack America right now. They have long range missiles. There's obviously always a potential they could figure out how to. I knew BZ was going to give me hell for the way I said Claudia. There's a way they could rig something up, right? I mean, anything's possible. Who knows what China sent them? I want to talk about the cargo Lux planes in a minute too. But there's nothing. We and the homeland are not at direct risk of anything Iran has in their stockhold right now. We're just not. Now, all of our facilities in the Middle East, all of our troops in the Middle East, Israel, Jordan, all the allies around there, yes. And there's reports now that all of those Middle Eastern countries, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, well, Jordan was playing ball anyhow, because that's where we're flying everything into and staging, I think. But all those other countries are essentially saying to Iran, like, you got to cut the shit, and then saying to Israel, be like, you got to do what you got to do. Like, they're trying to stop them, but they're also telling Israel, like, open the taps, baby. So even the Middle East, because as I said the other night, you have to look at it from the perspective of everybody that lives in that region. Yes, Israel first. If you're Israel, you do not want Iran to have a nuclear bomb. If you're the UAE and you have a great economy, people vacation there now, and you're more about tourism than anything else and making money. I mean, yeah, you sell oil, but your whole image now is come to the UAE and chill and have fun. If you're Jordan, you're trying not to get the tits blown off you by Iran and a nuke on an accidental misfire or whatever. Like, there's a million different reasons why all those countries want Iran to just stop, right? No matter how they stop them, because Iran is out of their fucking mind. The Ayatollah is out of his fucking mind. The leadership there is out of their fucking minds. Look at the videos they put out tonight. The one I just played of them saying, hey, everything's fine. And it's just, you can see the desperation in their face. You can see the desperation in what they do say and what they don't say. The Ayatollah, and I don't know if you've seen this interview, the Ayatollah was asked about why the big surprise hasn't come yet, and this was his response.
Okay, guys, I want to clarify about the big surprise, because everybody's been giving me shit about this all day because nothing happened. So here goes, okay? I did have a big surprise. But when I gave the order to detonate, they told me we had no nuclear scientists anymore. They're all dead. So I said, you know what? Bring me the freaking bomb. I will detonate that bitch myself. They said, sir, there is no bomb. So I said, what do you mean there is no bomb? And they said, no bomb, sir. We just heard Israel say we had one, so we all thought we had one. But we don't have shit. And then the morning came, and I was all depressed and shit, so that's what happened.
So, I mean, that sounds bad for them, right? He's depressed as shit. I know it's a serious subject. I know that there's a lot of shit going on right now that's serious, but I saw that earlier and I could not stop laughing. Whoever put that together, genius, absolute genius. So now, and we're getting up against a break. I'm going to touch on this on the other side. I got other stuff I do want to talk about. I don't want to spend the whole hour on this. But now we get to what's America going to do? And BZ said in the chat room, and look, there is a rift amongst MAGA as to what to do. Actually, the country in general, it's not just MAGA, because Democrats are very much in the same place. There won't be boots on the ground. There just won't be. There's no need for it. Do we engage with the stealth bomber? And do we drop a couple of bunker busters on Fordo and then essentially push them to the brink where they have to give up? Or do we let it play out and see what happens? That's the ultimate question. I know we're posturing. Part of that, I'm sure, is to pressure Iran that, hey, we could be there whenever we wanted to be. I know we're posturing, but I don't know if that's necessarily on the table. Just because somebody approves war plans, look, we have war plans for just about every country on the planet. We have a plan for everybody. So that doesn't mean that a decision's been made whatsoever. So it's going to be interesting. The next few days will be interesting. If something major does happen and I have the ability, I will come live and talk about it, obviously, here on SHR Media, and I'm sure the rest of the team will join me. Right now, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Democrats' new strategy, which is just really the worst strategy in the world.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, He may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
I wanted to touch up on one more thing before I move out of the Middle East and come back home a little bit. So there's been a series of these. If you follow Flight Radar 24, I posted something the other night, and apparently Flight Radar 24 came out and said, oh, this happens sometimes. It's just a glitch. It doesn't happen all the time. But there's been these Cargo Lux cargo 747s that have been taking off from China and have had all different destinations, including Luxembourg, that have somehow ended up in the middle of the no-fly zone over Iran, and then the transponder goes off, and they say it's a glitch. It's happened 4 separate times that I've counted, and somebody said, is it possible that it's China re-equipping them with some stuff, technology, albeit whatever, and they're flying and duping the Cargo Lux Squawk? I don't know. But if you see it on Flight 24, it comes right out of Shanghai. It flies up north, and when everybody else is taking the right, which, by the way, if you've noticed, the no-fly zone around that region has expanded even more. But instead of taking the right and flying up over Iran, it goes right to the middle of Iran and then goes off the radar. So that's interesting. Just something to note. Doesn't mean anything. It could very well be a glitch. Who knows? I don't know. Cargo Lux has released a statement essentially saying that's not ours. That's not us. We fly in the area, but that's not us. So who knows what it is? So I want to talk a little bit about ICE and the Democrats because they're handling things well. My favorite part that the Democrats are doing right now with the immigration argument is I can't count the number of ways they've said, hey, slave labor is totally okay. And this dingbat over at CNN, Ana Navarro, once again talked about slave labor being just fine by her.
And look, what's going to happen here is that we're going to find that milk gets a lot higher, because I don't know if any of you have ever been in a dairy farm. It is god-awful work. We're going to see that groceries and vegetables are higher. We're going to see an effect in our economy because whether people like it or not, whether Americans acknowledge it or not, undocumented immigrants are an integral part of our society.
Let me translate this for you. Hey, you know those jobs that you don't want to do because you don't want to get gross? Hey, you know those jobs that are really difficult or whatever? You know those jobs where because they can't legally employ them, they pay them under the table a shit wage that equates to slave labor? Yeah, that's what the illegals are doing in this country, and we're totally fine with it as long as our milk prices are fine. We're okay with certain slavery, predominantly of the Hispanic community. We're totally fine. Just let them stay and be slave labor. What's wrong with you? Who's going to pick the cotton if we get rid of the slaves? That's what they're all fucking saying right now. And yeah, Jersey Joe, what he says, she's like a sentient manatee without the lovability. Jersey Joe's right. Most dairy farms are automated. Yes, you have to walk the cows in and hook them up, but then it does everything else by itself. But yeah, this is their whole argument. It's crazy to me that we've gotten to this point in modern America where Democrats are arguing that slave labor is now okay. I'll tell you something right now. There's probably some old people in the South who are really pissed hearing this coming out of the fucking left's mouth right now, especially because the left has been saying it for years and then went quiet and acted like they weren't saying stuff like that for years. So now we're in this weird crossroads in American politics where the Democrats don't really have an identity. And what I mean by that is they used to be the, oh, we love everybody and everything's cool, man, and cut off your penis and it's cool for you to grow tits and yada, yada, yada. Everything's cool. Everything's great too. Okay, that didn't work because everybody's sick of it and got our asses kicked in the election. So now instead of being the peace and love people, we're going to try to be the tough guys. And you've seen it with the cussing. I'm going to give you another example tonight. I played another example of Eric Swalwell. That's their new thing, cussing. We have to be edgy, guys. Start throwing out the S word. We have to be edgy, guys. Bullshit. Bullshit's their new one. They love saying bullshit now because they're like, oh, bullshit, right? You saw Eric Swalwell try to say that without peeing his panties. That's their new persona. We're going to try to be tough. Why? Because everything with an ounce of testosterone that could vote last election did not vote for the Democrats. And yes, plenty of guys don't have an ounce of testosterone. They did vote Democrat. The rest of us didn't. So they're now, and you saw this with Padilla. Padilla tried this stunt. He wasn't the original though. Who is the, McIver. McIver was the original. She was the one who, after I saw her video and I saw other people, Gavin Newsom talking about how he's going to like get in people's faces and I'll stop him myself and blah, 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 blah. I said, these sons of bitches, and I put it out on X and told a couple people, I said, these sons of bitches are trying to get their own Trump moment. They're trying to get that mugshot to raise money off of. This is their new strategy to seem tough. I'm trying to get street cred like Trump did. Except here's the difference. Trump did it because you were targeting him. He didn't want to do it. He wasn't trying to go to jail. He wasn't trying to get a mugshot. No, you guys unleashed shitloads of lawfare on him and he forced it to happen. He got popular because he was fighting back against a system of justice that had two different tiers. And now we're seeing it out in New York where Hochul all but admits there's two tiers of justice. So what's his name? This little weasel. I'm trying to find it here. He's the city comptroller. And there was an ICE arrest. And he tried to like barge in and lock arms with the suspect who was going to jail, demanding to see a warrant, which the whole demanding to see a warrant thing is fucking laughable, especially if you're a city official. You know they don't have to have a paper warrant in their hand. The warrant just has to be active in the system and signed by a judge. Deportation thing, order, same thing. They just have to know it's active and they're acting in good faith that it's active. They've been told it's active and that a judge has signed off on it. Plain and simple. They are legally allowed to do it. They don't have to show you shit. And I'm looking through my bookmarks. I apologize because my bookmarks, dude, I'm telling you, technology is trying to just take me out of the game. So this New York twink, his name is, well, here it is. Brad Lander. So ICE was making an arrest. Lander locked hands. ICE, doing exactly what they should have done, was saying, you're interfering with the federal investigation. I am going to now arrest you for interfering in a federal investigation. Look, if we didn't know who Alex Padilla was, we sure as hell don't know who some low-level city comptroller in the city of New York is who's running for office, and we don't give a frog's fat ass, right? So they hook him. And they bring him to the federal, and they were going to prosecute him. And then New York Governor Hochul stepped in and forced them to drop the charges, which I still think is bullshit. I'll tell you, I know they're just trying to be nice. I know they're just trying to make it go away because it's a pain in the ass. It is a pain in the ass for them to prosecute public officials overall, just because of the blowback it gets on the news coverage. for a misdemeanor or a low grade felony, you have to ask yourself if it's worth it. And they're playing nice. And I said this with the New Jersey thing, and I said this with yes, BZ. I know what it's like to have technology hate me. And lately, the last 2 shows, it's been hating me like crazy. I'm going to do a lot of stuff, though, and I'm going to straighten it out. But Hochul essentially came out and, finally, I found it. Here it is. Here's Hochul once again, just trying to act like she's way tougher than she really is.
Do you want to know what I really think? Please, it's bullshit. How dare they take an elected official who's been going down there for weeks to escort people who are afraid to walk into a courthouse in the United States of America, because despite them having legal status and following the rules and making their appointments, that they don't know what's going to happen to them.
And wrong. It's there. If they have a detainer, they're not following the rules. They don't have a detainer because it's Tuesday. They have a detainer because they're not following the rules. No, it's not an ID10T era. Kathy Hochul right here is doing what they've all been doing and absolutely spinning reality out of the room and pulling in this fantasy world where they live. They have a detainer. The detainer is there because that individual did not follow whatever procedures they were supposed to be. Everyone is different. If it's a visa, if it's a work visa, if they came in and filed claimed asylum, yada, yada, yada. So there's a million different reasons why they didn't follow the procedures, but they didn't follow the procedures. So they get a detainer. And then she's trying to go on to this whole, she starts off, it's bullshit. Go back to anything that Kathy Hochul was involved in up until 2 days ago and tell me where you've heard her publicly say this is bullshit. It's never happened. Just like all of them, it's never happened. And this guy in New York, man, I'll tell you, they're killing it in New York right now. Lander was shouting during the arrest, you don't have the authority without a signed judicial order before being handcuffed. This is all stuff they know, and they're intentionally lying for the press. This is all for the press. They're getting in scuffles with law enforcement for the press. Padilla did it. He knew what was going to happen when he walked into Kristi Noem's press conference unannounced, where it was cameras and press only, and tried to force his way on stage yelling at her. Didn't wear his pin, yada, yada, yada. He knew Secret Service was going to respond because that's their fucking job. ICE, federal agents, you interrupt me from making an arrest, I'm going to hook you up. That's their job. Whether you like it or not, that's their job. And these people are either the stupidest sons of bitches on the planet and don't know it, or they're using all of these immigrants as a tool to raise money and get fucking press time. That's all it is. To all those people out there who are like, oh, they're just doing it for the immigrants. They're lying. They're doing it because it gets them camera attention. They're doing it because somebody might write that check for a fundraiser. They're using these immigrants, these illegal immigrants, like a fucking a purse that you see a rich woman walking around in with a little foo-foo dog sticking out of it. That's all they are to these people. That's all they are, is a fucking prop. And New York, you're a shit show anyhow. Oh, New York, where is it? No, I have the other one here. New York has decided to use their taxpayer dollars in the best possible way that they see fit, which is, of course, going to be defending illegal migrants from being deported. Here's Kathy Hochul again being a complete moron.
For their families. They don't have the attention. They don't have the lawyers. And that's why the state of New York is providing $50 million.
Taxpayer money.
Legal services.
$50 million.
People are finding themselves in this situation.
In the state and city of New York, you could get stabbed by an absolute raving, drooling lunatic that's been arrested 72 times while waiting for a bus, and nobody will pay attention to you. But if you're an illegal and it gets them some sort of press. You're worth $50 million. You're not. The cause is, the press is. They're paying $50 million to get press. That is what they are doing. And it's absolutely despicable. And I don't know what the fuck is wrong with New York. I mean, I know there's a lot wrong with New York City, but New York in general. But you go to New York City and you look at the mayoral race, it's a shit show. Eric Adams is running. Cuomo's leading. We all know what a shitbag Cuomo is, and he's leading. Look, I'm no Eric Adams fan, but Cuomo shouldn't be doing anything other than making license plates or maybe selling hot dogs.
On New Yorkers, be it at their
That's about
regular.
As far as Cuomo should go in New York. But nope. It's amazing how politics, even in the day, let this be a reminder as to why we can't let certain things go with certain individuals. Politics finds this way of erasing the path, even though you can just go and look at all the horrible things that Cuomo did and what he said and the sexual shit. Like, he's a piece of garbage. Everybody knows it, and he's leading the mayoral race. So it's a reminder that in politics, as long as you have enough time from the time you fuck up to the time you run for something again, you're going to be just fine. And then you get idiots like this who are running for mayor.
We know that as New Yorkers, what we see ICE agents doing as masked men in unmarked cars pulling up on New Yorkers, be it at their regular check-in at Federal Plaza or in their apartment building lobby, is terrorizing this city and this country, and frankly attacking the very fabric of what makes so many of us proud to be Americans.
Nope.
And I'm thankful to see Controller Lander have been released a few hours later and continue to be anguished about the so many New Yorkers.
First of all, they're not terrorizing anybody. Look, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you're walking down the street and up ahead of you in the next block, you see a group of cops jump out of a car, even if they're in TAC gear, and your first reaction is, oh shit, I'm afraid of them, you may want to look into your activities in life. Now, if you just go, shit, and turn around and walk the other way, which is what you should do, then you're not being terrorized. You are minorly inconvenienced. And it's okay to be inconvenienced, especially when you look at some of the rap sheets of the people they're deporting and what they've had and what they've done while they were in this country illegally. Let this idiot, this is who, this guy's getting a ton of votes. I don't understand why.
Who are languishing hundreds of miles away tonight from their families as they sit in an ICE detention facility.
What would you say to someone who looks at what happened today and sees it differently than you do and say, well, if someone is here illegally and they're at the courthouse and they get arrested for that very act, for being here illegally, that someone like Mr. Lander should not be able to step in and impede law enforcement from doing their job?
You know, what I would say is that what we're seeing with so many New Yorkers is that they're showing up for their regular immigration check-in. And this was what we saw with Controller Lander.
Where's your statistics? Show that in statistics, because here's the other thing that you have to remember. Texas, and rightfully so, I totally understood the move, bust a shitload of migrants to New York. There are a shitload of illegals in New York, and you can't tell me, when we know the percentage is only like 15 or something like that, of people who, once they get released on one of the recognizance bonds, or recognizance they release them on, only 15% show up and actually do what they're supposed to do. So you can't say that, I know they're all doing the right thing.
Accompanying someone whose case had just been dismissed, and then there were ICE agents who were refusing to show that judicial warrant signed by a judge when seizing that very person. And this is something that is top of mind for so many New Yorkers, because today there is another New Yorker named Mahmoud Khalil who is languishing in a Louisiana detention facility for no crime at all. Even though the courts have found it unlawful to continue detaining him, he sits in that prison because for Donald Trump and his authoritarian administration, laws are mere suggestions. They are not things that they actually have to follow.
So you must be asking yourself on some level, how would an idiot like that in a city of New York be gaining so much popularity? Well, I'm going to show you a picture, or a video, I should say, of a parade that happened in New York recently. I better be able to show you the video. I saved the video. I thought I had my video in order. Oh man, I'm just going to. Oh, that's all the funny stuff I want to get to, but it's not what I was looking for. Oh, here was a parade that was in New York City, and this tells you how it's not getting so much popularity. Yep. Hands off Iran now. You wonder how that moron was popularity and is getting attention, and this is it. These are the people that vote for him. Folks, you need to do yourself a favor and just go over and look at England. I'm not saying anything else. Just go look at England and see what's happening over there. And then look at this country in the big cities and see what's happening over here. Pro-Palestine, pro-Iran. And by the way, they forget, I said this the other night, and I said this I might have said this in a reply. I don't think I said this on the air, but there's a whole list of Americans that were killed by Iranians. The Iranians have killed Americans en masse, right? You had barracks bombings, you had the discotheque bombings. There's a whole bunch of things the Iranians had their hands on. That doesn't include the Israelis that they're killing. The Iranians are not good people. Ayatollah is not good people. And yet there's still people in this country who they're really the same people that were following around psychopath killers talking about how wonderful they are. And it just blows my mind. But then you get a little bit of justice, just a little bit of reality to some of these people. Because I want to introduce you to, I call it white saviorism getting its ass kicked. This video here I'm about to show you happened in Egypt. All of these white folk are going over to get into Palestine, to bring aid. They went through Egypt and they're going to tell Egypt exactly how it's going to go. And this is the response.
Fuck you, Israel! Fuck you, Egypt! Fuck you, Israel!
This is what they're yelling.
Fuck you,
This
Egypt!
is before it gets out of control.
Fuck you, Israel!
So you're going there, you're trying to give food, as you say, and break the blockade into Gaza. And you're a whole bunch of white people, essentially from Canada. Most of them were from Canada. There's some from other places. And you're going to go be the white savior that the world needs, because the white saviorism works so well in modern Western countries, right? You could be the white savior and you get TikToks and press, and you can go out and cry, and you can be, Greta, whatever the frig her name is, Thunberg, and everyone, oh, we fucking love her. Well, this is what happens when you pull that shit in Egypt. Getting their asses kicked. And again, you could say to yourself, Sean, how can you be so mean? And the answer is really simple. They chose to be there. They chose to be there. They're so caught into this echo chamber that they live in. They're so caught into these beliefs and ideologies, and they think they're so much better than everybody fucking else that when they go to a place who doesn't give a frog's fat ass about any of that shit, this happens. Whipping them with shoes, belts. Right? You have to stop thinking that you can just walk in wherever you are because you're white and you're from Canada, or white from America, or any of that. Oh, that woman's losing her mind too. I want to talk about that, but I'm not going to have enough time. That's Alyssa Milano, who I think is on the same shit that Britney Spears is on, and I was going to play that because it's absolutely crazy. But this is what happens. This is what happens with the leftist ideology. This is what happens when everybody is telling you you're right all the time. How can you be so mean? Because it's funny, Ordy. Yes, I agree. Oh, man. Cosmic Bard. Yep. Mission Ready Men says, play stupid games. Yep. BZ says, I still like the Khomeini statement. I do too. Highest video on that IQ was, probably 65, maybe 70. By the way, they were all detained and then removed from the country. Egypt said, hey, look, you're not going through and bringing Palestinians back through. We don't even want the Palestinians, which is what essentially the government said. Grab your shit. You're not from here and get the fuck out. And then they showed them nicely. Couple funny things. You remember Blue Sky? Remember when Blue Sky started last year? It was supposed to be the safe place, a friendly place. Everybody's welcome. Just be nice and be kind. So today, this shit just made me laugh. Vice President J.D. Vance started a No Sky, and he got on Blue Sky rather. He got on and said, "Hello, Blue Sky. I've been told this app has become a place to go for common sense political discussion and analysis. So I'm thrilled to be here to engage with all of you." And you can read the whole thing. I am not going to read the whole thing, but he said, to the end, I found Justice Thomas's concurrence for medical care for transgender youth quite illuminating. He argues that many of our so-called experts have used bad arguments and substandard science to push experimental therapies on our youth. And then guess what happened? They suspended his account. Like an hour into it, they suspended his account. It has since been turned back on, but it turned back on because it hit X in a tidal wave when he posted that, and then somebody went over there to comment and they found that his account was suspended. And that, my friends, is liberalism summed up. And of course, Vice President Vance was talking about the Supreme Court ruling today that was, out of Tennessee, essentially saying that you can't perform sex changes and sex hormone therapy and everything else. Oh, it was 20 minutes later. Excuse me. Thank you, Mission Ready Men. 20 minutes later. But he said, the Supreme Court essentially said, yeah, you can't experiment on kids. You can't have them transgender, yada, yada, yada. And of course, the left went absolutely batshit crazy. So there we go. Now we've seen the left for the last 28 minutes or so fully expose themselves for who they are. They're the white saviors. They will use immigrants for press and fundraising. They will absolute support a terrorist nation that will kill anybody who gets in the way, including them. They will try to go and rescue Palestinians and act like they're white saviors in a country that doesn't give a frog's fat ass because they are so dense. They don't realize that all of that shit only happens here because of our freedoms that you don't have when you go to other places. And they'll suspend the vice president for talking about a Supreme Court ruling they don't agree with. Folks, I'm sorry it got off to a rocky start, but thank you for sticking with me right here on the Edge of Liberty and the SHR Media Network. Thank you to our friends at KLRN who simulcast us tonight. Also, make sure you check out all the great shows on SHR Media. Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. You have Mission Ready Men with Big E. Tuesday, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You have the Bloviating Zeppelins, Berserk, Bobcat Saloon. Mondays and Fridays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. You have the Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe, who has a special Friday night about the climate you do not want to miss. It's going to be a great show. And then, of course, you can check me out every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. And on Sundays, every other Sunday, you have the Lost Wanderer show that has been generous enough to play on SHR Media. It started last week. It was a little glitchy. We figured out the problems, and it should be back for his next show. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe from wherever you're watching, specifically on YouTube if you get it. I'll be back Monday night. I'm going to a box suite tomorrow night to watch a baseball game, Major League Baseball. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I got box suite tickets. So you won't hear from me tomorrow night. I'll be back on the net Friday night. So have a great rest.
Welcome to Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch Reaver of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel. SHR